They were drawn on maps, sailors swore they saw them, entire nations claimed them, yet today, they don't exist. Imagine steering a ship toward land, only to find endless ocean. These are the islands that showed up in history, then disappeared without a trace. The ocean covers over 70% of our planet. But here's the strange part, we still don't really know what's out there. For centuries, explorers and map makers filled the gaps with rumors, sightings, and stories of strange islands. Some turned out to be real, like Australia or Greenland, but others, they simply vanished. No land, no rocks, no sand, just empty water. How does an island exist on maps for centuries, then suddenly vanish? Was it all human error? Were sailors lying? Or could these islands have been swallowed by the sea, shaken apart by volcanoes, or wiped away by rising tides? The truth is more complicated than you think. These lost islands reveal not only how mysterious the oceans are, but also how fragile human knowledge really is. And in this video, we're diving deep into the 10 strangest islands that appeared on maps, then vanished forever. Some were myths, some were mistakes, and some still have no explanation. Off the coast of Ireland, sailors once spoke of a magical island that appeared only once every 7 years. They called it Hy-Brasil. On maps from the 14th to the 17th century, cartographers drew it as a perfectly round island west of Ireland. To explorers, it was a promised land waiting to be found. But here's the problem, no one ever reached it. Ships tried to sail west, guided by maps, and found only empty sea, yet sailors kept reporting glimpses of the island shrouded in mist, only to watch it fade away as they got closer. To many, it wasn't just a landmass, it was a phantom. Some believed Hy-Brasil was a real island hidden by fog or lost beneath the waves. Others claimed it was a trick of the light, a mirage caused by the way air bends sunlight on the horizon. And then there were the legends. Hy-Brasil is a paradise, home to gods, advanced beings, or even a utopian civilization hidden from mankind. By the 19th century, most maps stopped showing Hy-Brasil. Explorers confirmed again and again, no island existed west of Ireland. Today, scientists think the sightings may have been mirages of the Faroe Islands or parts of the Irish coast, distorted by the atmosphere. But to this day, the legend of Hy-Brasil lingers, a ghost island that blurred the line between myth and geography. Fast forward to the 21st century, and you'd think we'd left mistakes like this behind. But in 2012, scientists sailing through the Coral Sea between Australia and New Caledonia found something shocking. Their maps showed a landmass called Sandy Island. But when they reached its coordinates, nothing was there. Just deep, dark water. Sandy Island had been on Google Maps, nautical charts, and atlases for decades. It was supposedly 15 miles long. How could such a large island exist on maps, yet not exist in reality? Some suggested it was once a sandbar that disappeared beneath the waves. Others argued it was a data error, copied from chart to chart until it became accepted fact. Conspiracy theorists even suggested governments were hiding something, maybe a secret base or resource-rich territory. When scientists checked the seabed with sonar, they found no shallow waters, only deep ocean floor, more than 4,000 feet down. Sandy Island had never existed. It was a phantom island born from a mapping mistake in the 19th century, then repeated endlessly by digital cartographers. In 2012, Google quietly erased it from their maps. Back in 1578, an English explorer named Martin Frobisher returned from an Arctic voyage claiming he had seen an island near Greenland. He named it Buss Island after his ship. For centuries it appeared on maps of the North Atlantic, but here's the strange part. Later expeditions couldn't find it. The island seemed to vanish, yet cartographers kept drawing it, partly because sailors insisted they had spotted it, and partly because nobody dared contradict official explorers. Some believed Buss Island might have been a real volcanic island that later sank. Others thought Frobisher had simply mistaken Greenland's coast for an island, or even seen an iceberg so large it looked like land. By the 18th century, the British Navy finally admitted it didn't exist. Buss Island was erased from charts, but it had already lived for nearly 200 years as a phantom island. Another case of explorer error fossilized in geography. In the 16th century, sailors crossing the cold waters near Newfoundland spoke of a cursed place called the Isle of Demons. According to stories, the isle was haunted by terrifying creatures, demons, and spirits that drove sailors mad. One of the most famous tales involved a French noblewoman, Marguerite de la Roque, who was supposedly abandoned there in 1542. Some historians suggest the Isle of Demons was simply a distorted version of Anticosti Island, a real island in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. By the 17th century, the Isle of Demons vanished from maps, Today, it's considered a mix of myth, fear, and cartographic error, a reminder of how sailors' superstitions could shape geography. In early medieval maps, you'll find St. Brendan's Island, supposedly west of Africa. It was named after an Irish monk, St. Brendan, who was said to have sailed across the Atlantic in the 6th century. According to legend, he and his crew reached a paradise island. For centuries, sailors searched for St. Brendan's Island. Reports came from Portugal, Spain, and the Canary Islands, all claiming they had glimpsed a distant island that vanished as they approached. Some believed St. Brendan had actually reached the Americas, and his island was a distorted memory of real land. Others saw it as a mirage, or even a spiritual vision mistaken for a geographical discovery. By the 18th century, maps dropped St. Brendan's Island. But the legend still fuels speculation. Did an Irish monk really cross the Atlantic 1,000 years before Columbus? Now to Mexico. For centuries, maps showed a tiny island called Bermella, supposedly north of the Yucatan Peninsula in the Gulf of Mexico. In the late 1990s, the Mexican government went looking for Bermella, because if it existed, it would extend Mexico's economic zone, giving them more oil rights. But when ships reached the coordinates, no island was there. Some say Bermella was a sandbar that eroded or sank. Others suspect it never existed, just another cartographer's mistake. But conspiracy theories go deeper. Some Mexicans believe the island was deliberately erased by the US to control oil-rich waters. To this day, Bermella is officially missing. Satellite images show no trace. Was it a real island lost to nature, or a political ghost wiped from maps? Nobody can say for sure. In 1683, the English privateer William Ambrose Cowley claimed he discovered an island in the South Atlantic. He named it Pepys Island after the famous English diarist Samuel Pepys. The island appeared on maps for more than a century, but explorers sent to find it, including the French and Spanish navies, couldn't locate anything at the given coordinates. Many think Cowley simply misidentified the Falkland Islands, charting them in the wrong place. Others think he may have invented Pepys Island to gain fame and funding for future voyages. By the late 18th century, maps quietly erased Pepys Island. It had lived for nearly 100 years as a phantom, all because of one sailor's false claim. In the South Atlantic, between 1762 and 1774, several ships reported seeing a chain of islands. They became known as the Aurora Islands. Spanish ships even mapped them, and for decades cartographers kept them on charts. But later expeditions, including by the British, could never find them again. Some believe sailors had mistaken drifting icebergs for islands. Others think they saw the South Sandwich Islands but plotted them in the wrong place. By the mid-19th century, the Aurora Islands were officially removed from charts. Today, historians see them as one of the most famous examples of phantom islands caused by sailor error. In 1825, the American whaler Captain George Norris reported an island in the South Atlantic near Bouvet Island. He called it Thompson Island. For decades, Thompson Island appeared on maps. Whalers and explorers supposedly saw it, but every attempt to land on it failed, because no island was there. Some suggest Norris mistook icebergs for land. Others think he deliberately invented the island to bolster his reputation. In 1943, a Norwegian expedition proved once and for all: Thompson Island didn't exist. It had fooled sailors and map makers for more than a century. Finally, one of the strangest: Frisland. This phantom island appeared on maps from the 16th to the 17th century, often drawn southwest of Iceland. It was shown as a large, detailed landmass, complete with towns and mountains. Some maps even depicted it as a separate country, but no explorer ever set foot on it. Historians think Friesland was a case of mistaken identity. Sailors probably confused Iceland or parts of Greenland, and mapmakers duplicated the land. Over time, the error snowballed into a full island. By the late 17th century, Friesland vanished from maps, but for over 100 years it lived as a fake country, a ghost shaped entirely by human error. When you look at all these stories together, High Brazil, Sandy Island, Bermella, Frisland, and the rest, you start to see a pattern. Human beings desperately want to believe the unknown is full of hidden lands. Sometimes it's greed, sometimes it's hope, and sometimes it's just mistakes copied again and again until fiction becomes fact. The climax isn't that these islands disappeared, it's that for centuries they existed in the human imagination, powerful enough to shape maps, inspire voyages, and spark legends. The vanished islands remind us that maps are not the territory. They are just stories we tell about the world, and stories can be wrong. Even today, with satellites scanning every inch of Earth, we still discover errors, gaps, and mysteries. The ocean hides secrets we may never fully uncover. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next hidden story history tried to erase.